Naik Naeem Raza embraced Shahadat as part of the UN peacekeeping force in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. हमारे एक सिपाही की शहादत हुई. May Allah rest his soul in eternal peace. We also pray for the speedy recovery of one injured Pakistani soldier. एक और इनके अलावा जख्मी हैं अभी. Pakistan continues to contribute towards global peace and stability. Pakistan is a permanent contributor to global peace under UN flag. To date, 156 brave Pakistanis, including 23 officers, have sacrificed their lives for global peace and stability under the United Nations auspices. As of today, over 6,000 Pakistani officers and men are performing their duties as part of UN peacekeeping assignments. 6,000 हमारे लोग वहाँ खिदमात जी अंजाम दे रहे हैं. The Foreign Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif visited the Afghan embassy in Islamabad to convey condolences over the recent terrorist attacks in Kabul, resulting in the loss of precious human lives and infrastructure. मैं और Director General Afghanistan भी साथ गए थे जी. He was received by the Afghan Ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Hazrat Umar Zakhilwal. The Foreign Minister signed the condolence book and offered Fatiha for those who have lost their lives. He also expressed sincere wishes for the early recovery of the injured. Khaja Saab said that Pakistan strongly condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. He also said that both Afghanistan and Pakistan were victims of terrorism and that there was a need for closer cooperation between the two countries to fight this common threat. The Foreign Minister added that it was encouraging that a high-level Afghan delegation which visited Islamabad yesterday, day before yesterday, yesterday उन्होंने कहा, had productive talks with the Pakistan side and it was agreed to work together to strengthen mutual trust and bilateral engagement. The Afghan ambassador thanked the Foreign Minister for the condolences, agreeing with the Foreign Minister about the need for strengthening bilateral engagement. He said that the cooperation should be focused on upholding our mutual commitment for not letting the use of our respective soils against each other. Separately, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Joko Widodo, along with his wife, Mrs. Iriana Widodo, paid a state visit to Pakistan on 26-27 January 2018 and addressed the special joint session of the Parliament. The Prime Minister and President Widodo held in-depth exchange of views on bilateral relations and a wide range of international and regional issues of shared interest were discussed. The President and Prime Minister asked for the personal intervention of President Widodo to give humanitarian consideration to the case of Mr. Zulfikar Ali, a gravely ill Pakistani held in Indonesia. After their talks, Prime Minister and President Joko Widodo attended the signing ceremony of agreements and MOUs between the two countries. Pakistan affirms solidarity with the people and government of Afghanistan in fighting the menace of terrorism. We feel the pain of our Afghan brothers and sisters. On its part, Pakistan has contributed immensely as a frontline state in countering terrorism and violent extremism over the last 2 decades. We deploy the largest counter-terrorism troops in the world, 202,000, 2,02,000. Effective border management remains one of our primary objectives in preventing cross-border terrorism. Pakistan has 975 border posts to man Pak-Afghan border. Afghanistan has 218. हमारी 975, करीबन 1,000, उनकी 200 के करीब है जी. We are keen to assist the Afghan government in this regard. On the southern side, a stretch of 648 kilometers has no checkpost on the Afghan side. CT operations within Pakistan have cleared 46,378 kilometers of land and eliminated 17,614 terrorists, ensuring that our soil is not used against any territory. We expect the same from our neighbors. Ongoing CT operation Raddul Fasad has eliminated terrorist elements from Pakistan, especially TTA and the Haqqani network. Actions against Haqqani network include rooting out of terrorist camps in Waziristan, blocking medical assistance to terrorists, and breaking their financing and training camps. Pakistan continues to share intelligence with more than 70 countries. and continues to push any suspected TTA and HN elements to prevent them from using our soil for any terrorist activity in Afghanistan. In this context, 27 individuals suspected of belonging to TTA and Haqqani network have been handed over to Afghanistan in November 2017. Pakistan has sacrificed 75,000 civilians and 6,000 soldiers, more than 6,000 soldiers, to the scourge of terrorism. We have one of the highest officer-to-soldier casualty rates globally and suffered economic losses worth US dollars 123 billion. Large ungoverned spaces in Afghanistan are leaving a vacuum for safe havens and terrorist sanctuaries to flourish and launch attacks on Pakistan. Incidents of cross-border terrorist attacks from Afghanistan has increased since 2016 and peaked to 417 in the year 2017. Piछle saal 417. Another example of Pakistan's sincere CT efforts is Paigam-e-Pakistan, the official decree fatwa jo humne kiya, that completely prohibits terrorism and declares it contrary to the teachings of Islam. Only the state can declare jihad. 1829 highly qualified Pakistani ulama have unanimously issued this fatwa, calling terrorism and suicide bombing as haram. This fatwa outlaws the use of force by individuals or groups to take up arms against state for imposition of Sharia. The fatwa also prohibits Pakistani citizens from violating territorial boundaries in the name of helping other armed forces and struggles outside Pakistan, offering intellectual and practical training and recruitment of terrorists. Tensions and escalation by India at the eastern border adversely impact our counter-terrorism efforts. Yassin Malik Saab, in his open letter to Madame Sushma Swaraj, the External Affairs Minister of India, reminded her of Indian hypocrisy and stated that while Ms. Swaraj repeatedly mentions alleged mistreatment of Indian spy Commander Kulbhushan Yadav, India is itself guilty of rendering ill treatment to the Muslims of Kashmir detained in Indian jails. Yassin Malik referred to his own ordeal and torture he was subjected to in the Indian jails. Several Kashmiri freedom fighters have been hanged without access to due process and denied a final meeting with their family members. Many have been deprived of proper burial by the Indian authorities. Disappearances, mistreatment in jails continue. Several Kashmiris have been arrested and detained simply for their political beliefs. An unaccountable number of prisoners are languishing in Indian jails for years, and their persecution continues indefinitely. Peaceful protesters are routinely arrested and beaten ruthlessly in police stations, while the Indian police officers use abusive language against them and their family members. Pakistan strongly condemns the brutal and indiscriminate use of force by Indian forces that resulted in the martyrdom of 3 innocent civilians, namely Ahmed Bhatt, 20-year-old, Sohail Ahmed, 18-year-old, and Rais Ahmed Ghani, and injuries to several others in Ganopura village of Shopian district in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir on 27th January 2018. Countering peaceful unarmed protesters with lethal weapons and direct bullets is another manifestation of the state terrorism being perpetrated by India against the Kashmiris on a daily basis. It is clear that the Kashmiri youths are being systematically targeted in order to break the will of the people, but these cowardly tactics shall not succeed. The government of Pakistan has agreed to extend the agreement of rail link between Monabao and Khokrapar for another 3 years, from 1st February 2018 to 31st January 2021. The second round of Pakistan-Portugal bilateral consultations was held in Islamabad on 30th January 2018. The two sides discussed the entire spectrum of bilateral relations, including in the spheres of politics, economy, energy, agriculture, culture, education, consular cooperation, parliamentary exchanges, and people-to-people contacts. Pakistan hosted the third Economic Cooperation Organization, ECO, Attorney/Prosecutors General Conference at Islamabad from 31st January 2018. Mr. Raza Rabbani, the Chairman Senate of Pakistan, was the chief guest at the inaugural session. The Secretary General of ECO, Mr. Halil Ibrahim Aka, led the delegation of ECO Secretariat. The Special Secretary of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan, Ms. Tasneem Aslam, met with the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister, Mr. Igor Morgulov, in Moscow on 31st January 2018. The focus of discussions was on Afghanistan. Both sides expressed satisfaction at the positive trajectory of bilateral relations and reiterated their resolve to further deepen cooperation between Pakistan and Russia in the fields of trade, energy, defense, education, and others of mutual interest. Lastly, the inaugural round of bilateral political consultations between Pakistan and the Kyrgyz Republic were held in Bishkek on 24th January 2018. The Pakistan delegation was headed by the Special Secretary, Middle East ECO, Mr. Aitazaz Ahmed, while the Kyrgyz Republic delegation was led by Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Nurulan Abdurrahmanov. The two sides reviewed their bilateral relations and examined the prospects of cooperation in the areas of trade, economy, investment, culture, education, science and technology, parliamentary exchanges, and people-to-people contact. I thank you all, Ji. I will take questions. Taking action against all terrorist groups in its territory. It is our commitment to eradicate terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. All international reports, including those from the United States, have indicated that vast swaths of territory in Afghanistan is being used by a number of terrorist groups like Daesh, TTP, Jamaat-ul-Ahrar as sanctuaries. Blaming Pakistan for security lapses inside Afghanistan is unfair, especially when such large spaces and support to these elements is available within the country. They have shared some information with us in the visit day before yesterday. We will look into the information provided and get back to them and you very soon. But to reiterate what I said, there are no sanctuaries here. The 27 people were handed over suspected HQN and TTP people were handed over in November, and we thought it prudent to release the information now. That's it, I think. I've covered all the bases. Mateen sir. No, not JUI, sorry. The tweet is there, suspected, Haqqani Network and Taliban. They have shared some information which we will look into and get back to them. Mateen sir. The endless cycle of violence. This conclusion is informed by our 4 decades experience of facing blowback of instability in Afghanistan. That is why we have consistently highlighted that there is no military path to peace in Afghanistan. The goal of peace and stability in Afghanistan can be best achieved through an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned reconciliation process. It is time for international community to remember the plight of millions of Afghan refugees in Pakistan who have been displaced from their homes due to decades of violence. They must return to their homes honorably, and more violence in Afghanistan will only delay their dream of uniting with their loved ones. Regarding the funding part, Pakistan wishes to have a strong relationship with the United States based on mutual respect and underpinned by bonds of friendship between our two peoples. Pakistan's foreign policy reflects the aspirations of the people of Pakistan and serves Pakistan's national interests. We look forward to developing mutually beneficial economic partnerships with all countries, including the United States, and do not consider assistance as a yardstick for measuring our long-standing relationship. Taracha Samj. Other economic free zone. The Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi inaugurated the Gwadar Economic Free Zone on 29th of January 2018. A number of industrial units will be set up in the economic zone that would generate economic and employment opportunities for the local population. A number of projects have been started in Gwadar, which include the Gwadar East Bay Expressway, New Gwadar International Airport, and work is planned to commence soon on both of them. Efforts are in place to provide basic infrastructure for Gwadar port and city. Provision of water and electricity to Gwadar is being carried out. Gwadar Hospital is being upgraded to 150 beds. A vocational training institute will also be constructed by the Chinese side. An industrial park is being built that has been declared a free trade zone. The focus will be on the development of oil refining, ship building and repairs, chemicals, non-ferrous metals, logistics, port, services and transportation. These projects would enhance the economic prospects of Gwadar and Balochistan by creating more job opportunities. Once fully developed and operational, Gwadar port will become an international transit hub which will greatly benefit Pakistan and more specifically the people of Balochistan. Shukriya Mubarak Sahab. Regarding the first question, the Jammu and Kashmir dispute is an internationally recognized dispute pending resolution due to Indian belligerence. The Kashmiris continue to struggle and pay in blood and treasure against intensified Indian atrocities and violation of their basic human rights by Indian occupation forces. However, the champions of human rights need to go beyond paying lip service to the Human Rights Charter and urge India to stop the bloodshed in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The international community also needs to fulfill its promise to the Kashmiris and ensure that India expedites resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in line with the UN Security Council resolutions. Mubarak Sahab, aapka second question. Rapidly escalating extremism and violence in Indian society is a reality. Indian maltreatment of its minorities is also well established. Saner voices inside India continue to speak about this. We have consistently raised our concerns on this issue. It is time for Indian claims of being a democracy to materialize into reality, most of all for its own betterment than anything else. A total of 91 Pakistani prisoners are detained in various Sri Lankan prisons. 47 of these have been convicted, sazaएं हो गई, whereas 44 are under trial. The convicted Pakistani prisoners can be transferred to Pakistan under the Transfer of Offenders Agreement with Sri Lanka. However, Ministry of Interior has stopped processing all cases of transfer of offenders since March 2015 due to reported malpractices in the prevalent process. The Ministry of Interior is evolving a transparent framework and standard operating procedures, which are in the final stages of completion. Once the SOPs are in place, the government will start processing the cases for transfer of offenders to Pakistan. Our High Commission in Colombo is in regular contact with the Sri Lankan authorities. The High Commission regularly visits the Pakistanis detained in Sri Lankan jails for consular access and provides basic necessities requested by them. The High Commission also provides legal assistance to the detainees who cannot afford it. Abbas Sahib. I'm not aware of any visit to China. Regarding the first question, it's technical. The Indian general political situation I've already commented on, but I'll get back to you on that one. You had raised a question regarding MTCR and the NSG, Indian NSG membership last time, so I want to reply to that now. As a state with advanced capabilities, Pakistan maintains constant engagement with all the multilateral export control regimes, including the Nuclear Suppliers Group, MTCR, Australia Group and the Wassenaar Arrangement. Pakistan has expressed interest in gaining membership of these regimes in order to contribute to the global non-proliferation objectives on an equal footing. However, the timing and order of submitting formal applications for membership is determined by several considerations. We have been holding discussions with our interlocutors from these export control regimes on these issues. Even though these export control regimes have the common overarching objective of promoting the goal of non-proliferation, they have their distinct areas of focus and the membership of one group does not automatically qualify a country to become a member of the other group. As far as the NSG is concerned, deliberations on different political, legal and technical issues posed by the membership of non-NPT states continue without emergence of any consensus. We believe that adherence to non-discriminatory and criteria-based approaches will further the non-proliferation objectives of these regimes and enhance their credibility and effectiveness. वफ्त जो जा रहा है जी, वो मैंने बताया 5 वर्किंग ग्रुप्स उसमें बात करेगा. अगर अफगानिस्तान साइड से कुछ उठाया गया तो अकॉर्डिंगली उसका जवाब देगा. जो 27 लोग हमने दिए हैं वो इसी तरफ इंडिकेट करते हैं कि कोलैबोरेशन कोऑपरेशन जारी है. फॉर्मल अफगान जवाब हमें अभी नहीं आया, एंगेजमेंट जारी है. कल इसीलिए मीटिंग पे जाएंगे, वहाँ पे भी अगर बात होती है फिर जो मालूमात आएंगी आपके साथ आगे शेयर करते जाएंगे. हाँ साहब, लास्ट क्वेश्चन. सेकंड लास्ट, आपका लास्ट जी. एक विजिट चल भी रहा है, मगर उसमें ज़्यादा अहम बात यह है कि एक तो आपके नोटिस में है कि कैबिनेट ने 2 महीने की एक्सटेंशन दे दी. और इट इज़ एस्टिमेटेड दैट पाकिस्तान इज करंटली होस्टिंग अराउंड 2.7 million Afghan refugees. This includes 1.3 million registered Afghan refugees, while the remaining are unregistered. Our refugees policy is focused on sustainable and voluntary repatriation of the Afghan refugees to their homeland with dignity. Based on this policy, the Ministry of Saffron, being the lead ministry, is engaged with all stakeholders and government of Afghanistan for voluntary repatriation. However, in view of the continuing instability in Afghanistan, many times the refugees who return to Afghanistan are forced to come back to Pakistan. Collective efforts of the international community and the donors for creating incentives and pull factors in the shape of low-cost housing and livelihood programs are critical to ensure reintegration of returnees in Afghanistan and thereby ensure sustainability of returns. The United Nations Military Observer Group for India and Pakistan, UNMOGIP, is one of the oldest peacekeeping operations, and it's maintaining the ceasefire line, the peace and tranquility of the ceasefire line. But the Indian side is not letting them work, and they are free to move on our side, and they go to the line of control on the working boundary. They can monitor the situation on the LOC, whereas on the Indian side, they are not allowed to move out of Srinagar and Delhi. So the UNMOGIP is the best mechanism to monitor the ceasefire and to ascertain that if there is any violation of ceasefire, is it being done by India or Pakistan? And that can lead to tranquility on the ceasefire, but or tranquility on the LOC. But the Indian side is not very forthcoming on this. So we have a stalemate there. We would urge India to move forward on that. Thank you.